There's just something so sweet about creating a handmade card for a new baby that's on the way. Today, I'm going to show you how I make a welcome baby card featuring fun little blocks that spell out baby. And whether you're using a Cricut or cutting everything by hand, I've got you covered with a free SVG and a free PDF with all the measurements. So let's take a look at what we'll need to get started. Hey everyone, it's Colorado Lean. Welcome back to the craft room. I am going to be using a variety of cardstocks today for our card, starting with a piece of cream-colored 65-pound Recollections cardstock. I have a variety of adorable colors from the Basil Basics paper pack. This is from 2015. And I will be using a lemon, a peach, a lilac, and a soft green. I also have a piece of white Recollections cardstock in 65-pound that I will be using for an envelope. And I have a 110-pound Recollections card that I'm going to be using for my card base. So let's jump right into Cricut Design Space and get started with our project. Now that we're in Cricut Design Space, let's go ahead and open a blank canvas. And we'll come over to Upload and Upload Image. Now again, from here, you can drag and drop your file or browse. I will choose my SVG file and then open it. Click Continue. From here, you can change the file name, add tags, add it to a collection, or go ahead and click Upload. The first thing I want to do is ungroup my file. Now I'm going to move the card off to the side for just a moment and focus on our envelope. Let's come over to the Layers panel and expand the file for the envelope. And you will see that all 4 of our lines are basic cut lines. We need to change those to score lines. So I'm going to highlight the first one, hold down my Shift key, and select all 4 of them. Up here on the top menu, you'll see that Basic Cut is selected. So we will drop that menu down and change it to Score. Now we need to tell Design Space where we want those score lines. So I'm going to select everything and then attach it with the paper clip. Or you can attach it down here in the Layers panel. All right, our envelope is ready to go. So let's move that out of the way and bring our card back in. So again, let's go ahead and ungroup everything. And you'll see we have the card base. We have 2 mats. We have our baby blocks and our welcome sentiment. Now, I prefer using 110-pound cardstock for my card bases. And the Cricut scoring stylist does not do a very good job with that. So I personally am not going to cut my card base or my mats with the Cricut. However, if you're going to, let's go ahead and expand this menu. And you will see that there is the score line there that is a basic cut now. So we'll come back up to the menu, change it to Score, hold down our Shift key and select our card base, and then attach. Now, because I am not going to be cutting these with the machine, I am just going to come back over to my Layers panel and hide them. And now we have our baby blocks and our welcome sentiment to work with. So starting with the blocks, I'm going to ungroup that. And then I am just going to open all of these up. Well, not that one. There are 3 parts to our baby block. So I will go ahead and ungroup that. We have our letter. We have an outline. And then we have the base of the block. I'm going to have matching colors for the outline and the letter. So I'm going to highlight both of them. And then I'm going to come up here to the color selection tool, which at this point is a question mark because I have 2 different colors selected. So I will click that. And then I'm going to turn this first letter yellow. And then I'm going to do the same for the rest of my blocks and letters. So these will match the colors that I have chosen. Now for my welcome text, I'm going to ungroup that. I'm going to change the color of the text to this peach color. And for my welcome mat, I'm going to I've been kind of flipping back and forth what color to cut this. And I think I'm going to cut this in white. Now I'm also going to cut my envelope from white cardstock, as we talked about before. So I am going to change this mat to the same color as this envelope. So that will be that kind of funky brown. Now, because I'm only using 65-pound cardstock for that, I am going to cut this twice. So I am going to duplicate that. And now we should be ready to cut. So I'm going to save this. Oh yeah, that's the new feature. I'm going to save a copy of this. And I'm just going to call it baby card. And now I'm going to come up to make. I will be cutting this on 12 by 12 mat. Now, as you can see, each color is its own mat. That's going to take a while to cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all of these other pieces to this first mat and cut everything at once because my paper is all the same weight. The first thing I want to do though is I want to make sure I know how big of a piece of cardstock to cut. So I'm going to increase this to 100% so I can really see it. And for my peach color, I need a piece of cardstock that is 2 inches tall by 7 inches wide. So I'm going to make a note of that. Now, when I come to the second mat, I could click these 3 dots, move my object, choose my mat, and then confirm it. However, this will be placed in this same corner on the new mat. So before I do that, I am going to make some adjustments. And again, I am going to make a note of this. So I am going to have another 2-inch tall piece of cardstock that is 6 inches long. But I'm also going to make a note to place that at the 3-inch line. And now I can click the 3 dots, move the object, choose my mat, and confirm. And now it is placed where I want it. So I will go ahead and move the other 3 blocks. And there we go. So I am going to do this for my last 3 colors, and I will be right back with you. All right, now you can see that everything is lined up and there is plenty of space in between each section. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a picture here of what my mat looks like before I cut it, so you can see how this placement looks. All right, let's take a real quick look at the mat for our envelope. And I am going to be using a 12 by 12 mat, or I'm sorry, a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock for this. However, I still don't want these words that close to my envelope. So I am going to move them a little bit and just give them a little bit of space. All right, now I'll go ahead and click continue. And I will connect my Cricut Explorer Air 2. Now I will be using 80-pound cardstock for both of my mats. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. I will be cutting at the default pressure. And because I am using the same weight of paper, I'm just going to click Remember Material Settings. All right, for my first mat, I am going to go ahead and get that loaded and cut. For my second mat, I am going to need to add the scoring stylus into clamp A. And after I get all these cut, I will see you back at the craft desk. I did run into a little problem when I was cutting out the text welcome. Let me bring this piece of Basil Basic card closer. And maybe you can see just how textured this cardstock is. And you can also see that my Cricut did not like it one little bit. So I did have to go in and I recut it with the purple. This particular piece of cardstock, even though it is a Basil Basic, it doesn't have a texture to it. So it cut so much nicer. So I'm going to toss that and put that back in here with the rest of our cut pieces. And now let's move on to the card base. As I mentioned in Design Space, I am going to be cutting the card base and the mats by hand rather than cutting them with the Cricut. And this is where the free PDF can come in handy. It has all of the measurements for the card base and the mats, measurements and suggestions for the baby blocks and the welcome text, as well as measurements for the matching envelope. So if you're making this card without a Cricut, you can simply follow along with those measurements. So according to our PDF guide, the card base is 6 1/4 by 6 1/2. So I have my Tim Holtz guillotine paper trimmer, and it only goes out to 6 inches wide. So I have my handy dandy ruler, and I'm going to add 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch just so I get it right. So I am going to kind of guesstimate where I am here. And then so I'll go ahead and use this metal ruler instead. So I'm going to line up the 1 inch mark on my ruler with the last tick mark on the cutter. And then I can adjust my cardstock to the 6 1/4 inch line. And then I can put this back in and adjust out to 6 1/2. Now for my first mat, I need a piece of corresponding cardstock that is 6 inches wide by 3 inches tall. I am going to have to get out my larger paper trimmer. Okay, so I will cut this to 6 inches. And then I will trim down a piece that is 3 inches high. For my second mat, I'm going to need a piece of cardstock that is 5 3/4 of an inch long by 2 3/4 of an inch tall. And I will be using this scrap piece of cardstock that I cut my envelope out of. However, I'm going to trim this down in just a few minutes. So let's set these aside for now and bring in our scoreboard. Going back to our card base, I am going to score on the 6.5 inch side at 3 1/4. So I am on the 6.5 inch side and scoring at 3 1/4. Now, if I didn't already mention this, and I apologize if I didn't, we are making a mini slimline card. So I have my card base. I have my first mat, and then I will have my second mat. So let's go ahead and talk about that one. For this white layer, I do want to add a little bit more visual texture to it. So I am going to use my Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous plaid layering stencil. And I'm going to use my Lost Shadow Distress ink. This will give a very light, subtle texture, and I think it's just going to be beautiful. So I do want to get my cardstock pretty straight so I can get the stencil on there straight. I am going to be using a waffle flower blending brush today. And I don't want to go in heavy at all. I just want a nice light texture. If there are heavier spots, that's going to be fine. Okay, let's just lift the end here and see what we have. And I could use a little bit more ink on there. So I will put this back down and then add a little bit more. All right, I am just going to call that good. Now it is a little light still in some places, but that is okay. So now let's go ahead and cut this down. And again, going back to our PDF, I need to cut this to 5 3/4 by 2 3/4. As I was cutting my mat to size, I did not pay attention, and I cut it to 2.5 inches instead of 2 3/4 of an inch. So I am going to tuck that away for something else, and I made another one. Now, before I go too far, I am going to use some Distress microglaze on here. This is something that I always think about doing well after everything is glued down to the card front. So what this will do is it will put a layer of protection on top of my Distress ink. And if any moisture gets on here, the ink will not run. So I have a little pad that lives in here. I have a little scrapbook.com handle that is only for this. And I'm going to get a tiny bit of microglaze on here. I'm going to bring in a scratch piece of paper. And I am just going to carefully buff this over the top. Now I'm going to take a piece of cardstock and just buff this off. And now I'm going to set this aside to dry while we work on our baby blocks. Okay, let's get started by gluing our baby blocks together. As always, I am going to be using Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. Now I don't want to use a whole lot of glue on here, but I do want to use enough to give me a chance to move this around so that I can get it on here square. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of my frames on here first and then work with the letters. So I will do that and be right back with you. All right, now that I have the base of my blocks together, let's go ahead and start adding our letters. Now I don't have glue on here yet. I just kind of want to get an idea of where that's going to sit. Yeah, that's just going to be so stinking cute. Now with the yellow and the purple, there isn't a whole lot. Well, there's no texture on the purple cardstock. There is a little bit of a pebbly texture on the yellow, but with the green and the peach color, there is a heavy texture. So I do want to kind of match that up so that the grain, so to speak, is going the same direction. Let me focus that for you. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but I want to make sure that the grain on the letter is the same as the outline on the block. So if this doesn't come across very well, then I will insert a photo here so that you can see that a little bit better. Now the green basil paper has more of a linen texture. So really any direction I put that is going to be fine. And there are the adorable blocks. Oh, you know, I love this card and it isn't even put together yet. So let's go ahead and work on our welcome. And the first thing I want to do is glue my mats together. Now this part is totally optional for you. You could use one layer for your mat. You could choose one of the cute colors that we already have. Or if you wanted a little bit more of the embossed background to come through, or if you were using a embossing folder, you could definitely cut this mat out of vellum and that would look super cute as well. Now this purple cardstock is thinner than I would prefer to work with a delicate text like this. So I am going to do my best to line it up and nudge it into place, so to speak. And there we go. Now that we have all of our pieces ready to go, let's start building our card. I am going to start by adhering my mats together. I think I am going to use some 1/4-inch score tape along with my Fairly Art glue because this is going on a really textured piece of cardstock. As always, I am going to put some of my Fairly Art glue on top of my score tape. And as always, if you know me, if you've been here for any length of time, if this is not perfect, I am 100% okay with that. All right, let's kind of line this up a little bit. Now I do have a line here in my stencil that I can follow for my text, which is pretty darn good for me. And I am just going to lay out my blocks to kind of get an idea where they're going to fit. Okay, I like how that looks. So let's get our welcome down. I'm going to glue on the first and the last block and then fill in the middle. And that will make sure that I have enough room here. And I do want them to tumble a little bit. So that block will go that way, the A will go that way, the B back that way, and then the Y this way. And then for my last block, I'm going to put it up just a little bit higher. Oh my gosh, that is just too cute for words. Oh, I absolutely love that. All right, and finally, I am going to glue it onto my card base. And there is my too cute for words finished baby card. All right, let's set this aside to dry and work on our envelope. Let's go ahead and finish our project by working on our envelope. Now, when I use the scoring stylus on my Cricut, it really doesn't do a very good job. I'm going to try and zoom in on this. I did take a picture of this, and if it doesn't come through very well here, I will go ahead and insert that if the picture turned out okay. But anyway, so with the Cricut Explore, the only option I have for a scoring tool is the scoring stylus. And, you know, it's not the best. I don't own a maker, so I don't know if the scoring wheel does a better job. But this does give me a starting point. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my Martha Stewart scoreboard back in. And I am just going to reinforce these score lines. So I will put it in and lightly go over what we already have. And again, this is 65-pound cardstock, so it doesn't take a whole lot of pressure. See, and these on the sides don't really line up very well. So I am going to line it up with the score line here. And now I am just going to fold and burnish these lines. Okay. And there is our envelope. Now, if you want to decorate the front, now would be a good time to do that. You could just open this flat and then decorate it. So let's go ahead and glue this shut. I am going to use a combination of Barely Art glue and score tape. I'm going to put the score tape, let's see, we'll start on this side, from the rounded edge down a little bit. I'm not going to go all the way down. Let me bring this card in. I'm not going to bring my score tape all the way down because I don't want to close up my envelope on the bottom. So I'm going to start on the edge. And just come down a little bit. And then my second piece of score tape, I'm going to put right next to the first one. And then I will do the same on this side. Now for my Barely Art glue, I am going to put it just down here. Again, I don't want to get too much on the edge because I don't want it leaking off and closing up my envelope. And then I will do the same here. And then there we go. Now I like to take a scrap piece of card and make sure I can put it all the way in. And that's all there is to it, to the envelope. So just like that, our envelope is finished. And I will bring my card back in and show you that it fits perfectly. There is a little bit of extra room on the sides and at the top. And with the 65-pound cardstock, it closes very well. Just look at this card. Now I know I've said it a few times already throughout the video, but it is just so stinking cute. I absolutely love the soft colors of these blocks, and using the lost shadow for the background gives it a soft, subtle look. I also think the mini slimline size itself really adds to the softer feel and makes the whole card come together beautifully. I also wanted to show you what this card looks like using the measurements from the free PDF. This version is a little different from the SVG version, but it shows that you can absolutely create this card without a Cricut. I added a little shimmer to the blocks with some clear Wink of Stella, and instead of using black for the printed sentiment, I used a darker gray to keep everything nice and soft. Now don't forget to check out the corresponding blog post where you can find some close-up photos of both cards, along with the details and supplies I used to create this second card. Now I'd love to know, If you were making a welcome baby card, would you keep the colors soft and subtle like these, or would you go with brighter colors? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for spending some creative time with me today. If you enjoyed this project, give the video a thumbs up. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next tutorial. Until next time, happy crafting!